In the 60s, Andy Warhol told Time magazine that one day, everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. Now, according to everyone's favorite fact checker, Wikipedia, Warhol didn't come up with the idea. Rather, it was originally a French phrase used in the 19th century. Now, in our passage today in Revelation 17, we come upon a time frame slightly longer than Warhol's 15 minutes, yet equally ephemeral in its implications. And we've been looking at the angelic interpretation to John's vision, who continues in verse 12, the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose and will give their power and authority to the beast. The horns are kings who reign for only an hour. Now, an hour was the smallest unit of time used in the first century Roman provinces, meaning their reign could not be shorter. Now, much like those of fleeting fame, these aren't even a flash in the pan. According to one commentator, they're doubly dependent. They receive their kingdom, which entails dependence on the one who provides, and they only receive it in order to hand it over to the beast. What they have wasn't for them, and it won't last. Verse 14, we're told, they will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them because he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and with him will be his called, chosen, and faithful followers. Now, we don't know the identity of these kings, but the fact that they're said to wage war against the Lamb allows us to identify them with the kings of Revelation 16, summoned by the demonic frogs to the place in Hebrew that is called Armageddon. These same kings are mentioned in Revelation 19:19. Then I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to wage war against the rider on the horse and his army. Of course, in this instance, the lamb is, well, a lot less lamb-like. With good reason, many connect these horn kings not only to their preceding reference in Revelation, but to the book of Daniel chapter 7. There in verse 7, Daniel tells us, after that, in my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was a fourth beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful, and had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns. We've looked at this verse on several occasions. But the purpose in this case relates to the 10 horns. Daniel wants to know about these horns, and he's given an interpretation that the 10 horns are 10 kings. Unless you weren't paying attention, the 10 horns were on the beast, just as was described in Revelation 17, verse 7. Now, here's where this gets really interesting. In Daniel 7:21, Daniel says, I watched. This horn was waging war against the holy people and defeating them. Here in Daniel, it's one horn that's defeating God's people. But that said, the language is nearly identical to Revelation 17:14, except this time, it's not God's people upon which the horns war, but the Lamb. And the Lamb is said to triumph or conquer. In Greek, it's nekao. How does a lamb conquer in the book of Revelation? The Lamb conquers by his sacrificial death. That's how he will defeat the kings, not through some great show of force, but through his self-offering. Which means the Battle of Armageddon, the one we've been told about in Revelation 19, isn't some gory pitched fight. Victory is won by the blood of the Lamb. And the result for those who follow him faithfully is not fleeting fame, not our own 15 minutes, but the crown of life, and the promise to rule with him as kings and priests forever. Have a blessed week.